Gaius. This video is for your exercises. A dozen a day group 1 walking and running and the Etude number 1. So let's get started with the walking number 1. And the main thing that you want to be able to do from the walking and the running is to play accurately with the metronome. And walking, you match the metronome. Repeat this. When you practice, play at least 3 times, 5 times, or even more. And you're checking for your hand position. I'll just play the second half. 3, 4. You don't have to play very loud. You don't want your hand to go up and down like this. Try to keep a still hand, and you want all your fingers to, how do you say? You don't want to press into the key. You just want your fingers to reach the bottom of the key. Sort of reach in, kind of, press, move your fingers downward this way. And you don't want to be pushing from these joints. You just kind of, you just sort of want your, I often call it's almost like clawing in a way. Okay, so number 2, running. Running is twice the speed, right? And I don't want you to have to change the metronome setting to double that. Just stay with it. It'll be, I'm just going to play the parts where you play with the beat. I think I asked you to circle those notes. You're really just playing with the beats. C, E, G, E, C, E, G, E, C, E, G, E, C, E, C, 2. Those are your beat notes. And then the D's and the F's are in between. So now I play the whole thing. And, you're going to match this, finger 1, 3, and the 5 with the metronome. So I think it takes a little bit of getting used to make sure that you get exactly what it sounds like to be playing at a certain, tempo marking quarter note as opposed to the 8th note. This is really get to know the relationship or how what your finger has to do. A lot of the times you can, think about it, even if you knew it, it's another thing to be able to do it, on the keys. So that's the exercise for that. So make sure you really can't practice walking and running unless you have the metronome. The whole idea is that you get the, the quarter note and the 8th note to a certain metronome marking to know the relationship between the two. So always with the metronome. And that one was 88, practice at 88. You can go slower, but I would not recommend you to go any faster. 88 is plenty fast, and especially as you go faster, you may lose control of the accuracy. So it's always better to go a little bit slower. Okay, now the Etude number 1. This one, I think I gave you a metronome marking, at least on the instruction sheet, 108, which is a little bit, it's fairly speedy. I think it helps you play the legato better. This one I would not recommend too slow, because then the second half legato may not be as smooth sounding overall. So I'll start at the top, and it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2. have a repeat. So it feels like you could repeat, it feels like you could play twice through. I think the bigger issue was really the second measure starting from second half from that part. So, and also your hand position change always happens at the end of the measure, right? At the end of the at the end of the line. So da 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 da, that A is on the third line. So you just have to anticipate it. Know that A is coming up, be ready for it, and have your hand move in position, but without compromising or without cutting any note short. You have just one quarter note, quarter rest on the right hand to shift over, but it's not a big shift, right? You just go from the pinky being on the G to the A. So it's really not that far. In fact, you should be able to do it with your eyes closed even, because this is your G, right? And then you just kind of scoot over. If your fingers are used to touching the surface of the piano, you will be able to tell better. I oftentimes when you're doing like finger exercises like the dozen a day, I often tell kids, why don't you try that with your eyes closed? That way, your fingers, you'll have a different attention to what you're doing. You will hear better, and you will feel with your fingertips better. So, okay, I'll do this one more time. And good legato. Actually, I'll just do the second half. 1, 2, 3. Right hand shift here. And have your left hand ready. 2, 3. 2, 3. Okay, so that's the hard the hard part happens in the second half. So make sure you get that. You may have to practice measure 9 to measure 16 additionally. Most likely you do. So, give your second half measure 9 just from here. Practice from there. Play once through. Play from measure 9 to the end. Play it maybe 5 more times, and then play the whole thing and see how it happens, how it sounds. So I guess that's it for the exercises. I will follow up with your the Dutch dance. I will do some demonstrations.